everyone, and welcome to another Dwarven Tavern review. I'm Dr. Jeff Goins, and today, or tonight, or whensoever thou dost watch this video, we are going to be reviewing the Hackmaster's Gamemaster's Guide, given to me by none other than David Kenzerco himself. Okay, and given to us at Gen Con for review, which is a very cool thing. And you know, I know that I say that I don't like to mention names, but there's some people that I really like, and you know, you just have to deal with that, I guess. But there are a number of people in the industry for whom I have the highest esteem, and David Kenzerco is an awesome guy. Steve Chenault from Troll, the Troll Lord himself, is an awesome guy. I love talking to him at the cons and wheresoever. And Jolly Blackburn, and the list goes on, because this is gaming and this is where the cool people hang out, as you know, right? So yeah. This is not a review of the people I know in gaming. This is a review of the Hackmaster. As you can see this, the Gamemaster's Guide. And for Castles, I'm sorry, not Castles of Crusade. Haha. I've been playing far too many games here of late, and they're blurring. The lines are getting blurred. Well, and you know, I do that on purpose, because there are so many like Pathfinder things, and Castles and Crusades things, and Hackmaster things. They all work, with the same basic engine, and with just a little bit of tweakage, they can all work together. So, just for instance, I have a lot of Pathfinder creatures in my D20 in a D20 Future campaign that I'm running, and yeah, you can do that. And there's a lot of cool things about Hackmaster, that the rules that can be applied to Pathfinder, and I always use the combat maneuvers. Couldn't even think of it. The combat maneuvers where you want to bull rush or grapple or whatever. In Pathfinder, it's so much better than the 3.5 edition things, and I use that. Now, of course, D&D 5 is all self encapsulated, and it has its own rules, and that's pretty pure so far. Which we do have a new book coming out for that. We have a new book coming out. No, we have a new review coming out for a book that was just put out. But this is neither there nor here nor there. This is the Gamemaster's Guide from Kenzerco, and it's a black special edition cover that we got from Gen Con, handed to us by, and you know, I still believe that that everything should stand on its own merits. Everyone should. This book is no more likely to be a good book because Jolly Blackburn and Dave Kenzerco were the writers thereof. However, it would be no more of a good book than if I didn't know who had written it. As far as I'm concerned, I like those guys; they're awesome guys, but that doesn't mean that the book's going to be good. It's a strong indication, but I always want the content to stand on its own, because if it doesn't stand on its own, then it falls down, and there you have it. This book is chock full of game mastering advice, from what I have seen. And it says advice for here on page 7. It starts out with advice for game masters of all stripes, and it has a lot of really good advice for first time game masters, which is dungeon master is what I personally grew into the game, referring to he or she who runs the game, be she a he or be he a she. So, you have a number of rules that it states, and it's not rules, it's advice. Number one, look it up. You don't need to know every rule. It's a good idea to know the rules pretty well, so you can at least guesstimate, even though I don't like that word. Because an estimation is a guesstimation. It's like saying nuclear or foliage. Irks me. Be consistent. Good advice. Do your homework. More good advice. Make players do their homework. Even more good advice. Prepare your notes. Those are important. Although we have kind of a running curse here at the tavern, because it seems like, and you may experience this as well, but it seems like the more work that the dungeon masters here, which are all of us take turns dungeon mastering for various campaigns. We have something in the neighborhood of, like it feels like 647 campaigns running simultaneously, but that is simultaneously. I know how to pronounce it. But the whole I don't even remember what I was saying when I made that. Prepare your notes. Yes, the curse. The more work that we put into it, into the notes and into the preparation, the less likely it is to ever be played again. And I don't know if you've experienced that, but it is true as far as it goes here, because if we wing it, we'll play every day. But if we not, then we don't. It's weird. It's a weird phenomenon. Engage in organic storytelling. Believable setting is more like a sandbox than a railroad. That's good. That's very true, because the more the characters interact with their environment and those things, those cards dealt to them by the dungeon master, the more the game grows, and that's organic. So yeah, really good advice. Really good advice. Although we do have one campaign running right now here at the tavern called the Apocalypse Train, which the players are trying to get from point A to point B through an apocalypse that's happening. I mean, the mushroom clouds are behind them right now as they go, and it's fascinating. And that's the only game that I've ever really played that's literally on rails. So, and it's a lot of fun. They met a character, not really a character, kind of a creature, kind of a monster, called the Ape 9000, and maybe we'll go into that. Maybe we'll do some storytelling later on. But number 8 is kind of a duh. It says role play. Really, good GMs write interesting NPCs. Great GMs become interesting PCs, and it helps if you're nuts. I am. So yeah. And so is Tavernier Ian. He does. I mean, we we were in a game. He was dungeon mastering, and he actually had about a half an hour conversation between 2 or 3 characters that were all NPCs that he did, and we were entirely just completely okay with listening to this conversation as he debated amongst himself. And it was really good. Did a dad proud, really. But I've seen some games here recently, especially by some celebrities who are doing gaming YouTube videos, and I was drastically unimpressed by the lack of role playing. It's like, yes, and the tavern master comes over and says, "Would you like an ale?" And my character says, "Yes." That's not role playing. That's not even line reading. I mean, I was really surprised because these dudes are actors, and it's like to not actually act when I would love to get Vin Diesel in a game, as I'm sure a lot of you probably would, because I bet he's a good role player. But a good role player will become the character, and that's for Dungeon Master and player alike. Manipulate your player's emotions. Oh, baby. That's a fun one. That's absolutely true. And have fun. The most important. That should be number one. And then it talks about winging it and railroading. One of the most enormous fights I was ever in with my best friends as a teenager was one game we were playing, one session in this years-long campaign, and they had no control over the situation. This actually happens sometimes in real life, where the only way out is like to just walk away, or I'm not going to say kill yourself, but it seems like that sometimes. That's never a good idea, because you survive it, no matter what it is. It's survivable, and this was a thing where they had stepped back in time and were living a loop to an extent, and they had already done everything that was going to happen, which they were going to find out about later and be able to go back and change it, but they didn't give it the chance to do that because they started just completely flipping their lids about predestiny and fate and all this stuff, and it just absolutely escalated to me trashing the room and throwing stuff everywhere and screaming and making them get out and not speaking to any of them for about 6 months. It was tremendous. It was tremendous. But had they, because and the weird thing is that we all had the same mindset. We were all of the same philosophy that there is no destiny unless it already happens. If you meet your true love, then it was destiny. To like die poor or whatever is not destiny, because it hasn't happened yet. It's kind of a weird philosophy. And they should have trusted me to know that, or trusted me as a person to not put their characters through anything that they couldn't handle, or anything, because I don't believe in that either. And yet they turned on me like a pack of rabid, naked mole rats, clinching to my, manhood with a ferocity unrivaled amongst even blenders. And yet, it turned into a really nasty fight. And then when I explained it to them, they felt like idiots. And I was thinking that was very appropriate, because that was very stupid of them to not give me the chance as the dungeon master and to turn on me like I was a noob. Here's another issue that this brings up, and it's the sporadic attendance of gaming sessions. It's bad. It says here, I'm trying to find the passage that I found interesting. Should the absent players attend the next game, it is best to simply state they grew concerned or bored and sought out their dungeoneering fellows, ignoring interim possibilities of getting lost or encountering foes on their own. So having the characters stay behind or wander away or whatever, I'm sure you've had, the more people you have in a campaign, the less likely it is that everybody's going to be able to show up. So it's a good idea, and it says one thing you can do is take over as an NPC of that character, and that should be something that's established. So this book has a lot of incredibly cool advice. So I'm going to give it full marks for that. It has a section on combat, which is covering concealment and the like. It's chock full of full color tables, which you know I'm a table-holic. My name's Jeff, and I'm a table-holic. I've not sat on a table for 5 years. And here's a table for arrow wounds and advanced rules, dropped objects, melee attacks. It's got some actual photographs, like the one here on page 22. Actual photographs of rough terrain, which is incredibly cool. I had forgotten that they used actual photographs when I was first flipping through it. I must have missed that. But the combat is very deep, with some things that you might want to use in other games, like different monster poisons and virulence factors, and saving throws, and all that good stuff. Lithic weapons, which lithic is stone, like monolith, megalith. Listen to what I say. So yeah, the combat section is very, very deep. It also covers fumbles, and interestingly, it has throughout. It has these flowcharts, which I think it's cool. I like flowcharts because it says roll a natural one on an attack die. Then you go to, is a modified attack roll greater than a modified defense roll? If yes, then the attack is unsuccessful but not a fumble. It's a good point. If no, if the modified attack roll is not greater than the modified defense roll, then it is a fumble. So that means if you roll a fumble, but the modified attack roll is like a 5 because you get like +4 in strength or whatever, and their modified defense roll is like a 4. If the modified attack roll is not greater, is less than the modified defense roll, then it's a fumble. Then you determine a result. Defense roll minus attack roll times 10. Against the D1000, consult table 212 for the result, plus the defender gains a free attack, which I do believe is going to be levied into my games from here out, because I think that's true. You know, you fumble, you totally mess up your roll, your attack, for whatever it is, and that's a major blunder. I mean, that's like throwing your well, let's take a look, shall we? Equipment mishap, and it has the fumbles and missteps in it's organized. Vocabulary is important. Organized into no additional effect, a hindrance, equipment mishap, armor damage, weapon damage, unbalanced, etc. So this is there is one table for melee weapons. There's another one that's archery specific, because that's a whole additional, that's a whole different realm of possibilities. If you ever go to YouTube or LiveLeak or whatever, I'm sure you've seen instances in which someone was pulling an arrow back. They pulled it back a little too far, and the arrow actually got stuck on the nock, or it got stuck on the arrow, and then the arrow snaps when they let go, and when the arrow snaps, goes through like the forearm. I've seen that happen. I actually saw, I didn't see it, but I heard a police report once where a fellow was practicing archery in his basement with his crossbow and loaded the crossbow and set it down and went to get the other arrows. Now, why he would set it down after loading it is a mind blower, but he set the crossbow down and he went over to get his other bolts, his other quarrels from the target, and something happened and it slipped over and it went off and it shot him in the back. I mean, shooting yourself in the back with a crossbow that's almost like, oh, well, bravo, well done, because I mean, you can't, and yet, so injure yourself, shoot own hand or foot, bowstring breaks. I am a little disappointed that it doesn't do any damage, because when a bowstring breaks, it can slit you up a treat. I mean, it can cut you open, big time. So that's it can be injuring. Bowstring breaks, string notch chipped, -1 to hit, graze nearest ally in field of fire, etc., etc. Non-weapon injury to self, such as a sprain or hyperextension. That's pretty clever. And then the double asterisk, it says 1 in 6 sprains result in a muscle tear. Ouch. I once, and that can happen, because I once was fencing with a friend of mine with sabers, and we fenced for so long that I had bursitis in my forearm muscle right there for like 3 weeks, and I could barely move my arm. So muscle tears and muscle injuries from hyperextending elbows and shoulders, and the rotator cuff and all that stuff. Those things can be serious injuries, and this takes that into just like strains and pulls, calf, left and right, hamstrings, quadriceps, gluteus maximus. That sucks. You can't get comfortable when you've torn a butt muscle. And I've torn most of my muscles. I haven't torn any of my ear muscles, but that's only because I don't have a weapon that attaches to the ear. Forearm, bicep, lower back, nothing worse than the back. So forth and so on. And then we go into critical hits. The critical hit flow chart is equally cool to the flow chart of the fumble. Natural 20 is the modified, and I've always disagreed with the critical hit threat. It's like either you do it or you don't. And I realize that if your attack if you need a natural 20 to hit them, that it could very potentially be not a critical hit. That is, if you need a 20 to hit them. If you have to have a natural 20 to hit them, then every time you manage to get lucky enough to hit them, it happens to be critical. I don't think so. So that's when the critical threat comes into place in my games. But this is an equally cool critical hit thing. You roll a natural 20. If the modified attack roll is greater than the modified defense roll, then it is a critical hit. If not, the attack is successful, but not a critical hit. So, what do you do? If you need a natural 20 to hit them, and you get a natural 20, and you need that to hit them, and I've said that, I'm kind of looping, then what do you do? So what I usually do is I make it an opposed roll, defense and attack, and if the attack is greater, like this, then it's a critical hit anyway. Because, Smog or Smaug, critical hit, killed him. It had to, that was the only arrow, right? Bard's Black Arrow. So, then it goes on to critical hit, determine crit severity, integer value of modified attack roll minus a modified defense roll plus a damage roll minus the defender's DR is the crit severity. And that's what we call an algorithm. So you can roll a... holy moly. Yeah. It's been a while since I looked at this, so they have crits for crushing weapons. If you can see here, I mean, the crits, the critical hits are like, it's like 20 pages of critical hit possibilities. So, yeah, it's pretty in-depth. And let me just pick one here, shall we? 3 extra damage dice minus 3 attack and defense. Count and reset. Held items dropped. So that's a piercing weapon. So if you've ever seen the movies where they go whah with a rapier or other pointy weapon like a spear or whatever, and a guy just drops his weapon because it freaking hurt. There you go. It hit him in a really, really bad place. I'm sure all you guys out there know what it's like to be hit in a really, really bad place. Yeah. Okay, so when we return in the next video, I'm going to talk about the next section, which is the adventure, and various other aspects of this book. So again, this is the Hackmaster. I see which way's up. This is a Hackmaster guide from Kenzerco. Do not forget to look them up and at kenzerco.com, and give us a shout out in the comments and all that good stuff. And you know what to do if you like us. Be with us because we love you. On behalf of the whole cast of crew of the Dwarven Tavern, I'm Dr. Jeff Goins, wishing you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged, which I did, and I do often. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Stay tuned. Let the games begin.